Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder. Today we'll be playing mono white mid-range in the Timeless format. So this deck is just a bunch of like independently strong white cards, and headliner of them is Stoneforge Mystic. So when it enters, grab an equipment. You can also cheat equipment into play. And sort of our like batter skull approximation is Dissection Tools. So this enters, manifests a creature, and basically creates a 4/4 Death Touch lifelink. And so that's sort of like our store brand batter skull. We also have Nettlecyst as like a potentially powerful thing to drop into play, as well as like utility equipment like Lion Sash. We also run like the super cracked 1-drops like Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, and also some value 2-drops, some defensive 3-drops in Skyclave Apparition, and also Enduring Innocence as like a card draw engine. So let's grind them out. This is a pretty spectacular hand, and I like putting tons of MDFCs in my deck to enable Chrome Mox for like explosive starts, especially if decks have a way to make up the cards lost. So we have Enduring Innocence, for example. This looks like a life gain show off. So Soul Warden on the other side, we slam Guide of Souls. Deciding what to tuck, like I want to keep the Witch Enchanter for next turn to be able to have Skyclave Apparition up. This could be a long one considering how much life both sides will be gaining. Not to mention how many triggers will be sitting through, so. But blue-white, like, into Soul Warden is not something you see every day, so. Alright, they play a second one. And, okay, so they are going to crack their fetch. Let's see if they play something else. Alright, so they're waiting till our upkeep, and they're going to hit us with an Auram's Chant. So that's going to prevent us from casting spells this turn. So opponent is cooking something over there. Gonna go ahead and attack with Ocelot Pride. I really want to lock in some life gain with Guide of Souls, and sorry, lock in the life gain for Ocelot Pride. Anyway, there's gonna be a lot of triggers this game. I do want to try and do like a Silence / Auram's Chant deck. Still quite haven't figured out how to make it work. Alright, this is pretty devastating. So Deputy of Detention is going to be able to... Alright, they're going to grab Guide of Souls. And... okay, so we can cast spells this turn. The question is what? We have Guide of Souls. So we could go like double Guide of Souls, or go Guide of Souls into Spirited Companion. We're going to have our work cut out killing them because of Soul Warden triggering off literally everything going on right now. I go ahead and put the other Guide of Souls into play just to really like turbo out the energy and try and start killing him. So we have enough energy to send one creature to this guy. So we're gonna put one Ocelot Pride into the air. And we're rapidly marching towards City's Blessing. And that'll be really nice with the extra cats. So, we'll have to see what the opponent has in store for us. Alright, so they end up just passing, missing a land drop. We have a Witch Enchanter. Going to go ahead, like, they could have mana drain up, so I'm just throwing out a Spirited Companion. Alright, so they have an Ephemerate, which they use to flicker Deputy, and when it re-enters, they get to now capture all of our Guide of Souls. And then they mana drain our creature for good measure. So that was pretty tough because we just happened to have like a really redundant draw, and they were able to just snag all of our Guide of Souls. Now, fortunately for us, Ocelot Pride has already locked up flying, and so it can keep the life flowing for us. But that was a pretty slick move from the opponent. Now they will have like the Ephemerate rebounding, and of course the Soul Wardens are just going wild. And the question is, are they going to do it again? Now this is okay. Yeah, we are going to be generating a million energy here. So now with the Deputy returning, it grabs everything with the same name, so it's actually going to nuke all of our cat tokens. Now, we did get all of our Guide of Souls back and generate 11 energy, so like the opponent will need to do something about that because we can just go wild. The opponent plays an alchemy card called Saiba Siphoner, and it's going to return an instant or sorcery to their hand. Maybe it's just instant. And so now it's a little grim because they have the ephemerate and basically like a, you know, a way to return it from the graveyard. So the opponent's really cooking over there, and they are just, you know, both of us are just really going crazy with the life. So now I know they have ephemerate at the ready, so I'm trying to figure out like how to attack and how to use the energy, because if we make it too juicy to grab Guide of Souls, then that's bad for us. So we are going to have 3 options for Guide of Souls. So I'm going to send 1 Guide of Souls into the air and put some more counters on Ocelot Pride. And with the way this matchup seems to be going, it seems like we can just go crazy. And I'm checking out Riptide Laboratory, so like I said, I wanted to make it so it was somewhat of a hard choice, choosing between Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride for them. Alright, so they do opt to grab the Ocelot Pride. Now here comes Ephemerate again. And so the opponent is actually creating a loop right here. So on the second go around of Ephemerate, they can blink the Siva Siphoner and return Ephemerate, which means that they'll always be able to use the first iteration on Deputy. Or in this case, they use it on Siva Siphoner again to return Orem's Chant. And so what the opponent has done is created a soft lock. And so on our upkeep, they're going to set another stop, cast Orem's Chant, and probably kick it for good measure. Yeah, so they kicked it. So not only can't cast spells, we can't attack them. And Ephemerate's going to rebound and allow them to blink Siva Siphoner again. So basically every turn they get to pick up an instant or sorcery, and because the way Ephemerate works, they're going to be able to just keep cycling this over and over. So they're going to grab the Ephemerate, and then on their turn be able to get back Orem's Chant. So now there are probably a lot of decks that would fold to this. You know, you need some instant speed interaction to get out of this. Now we run some stuff. We run Phelia and we run Solitude. Solitude is like what we're basically waiting for, is to break up this. So there's Phelia, so that's at least something we can cast on their turn, like when we're not under Orem's Chant. But Solitude, basically we're just waiting until we can find a Solitude to solve this. Now the nice thing is, so with the Ephemerate rebound on the stack, I'm going to put Phelia into play. Now it's not going to be able to do its like blinking attack thing. But the nice thing is that we get to draw off Enduring Innocence. And so the opponent has to like think, and there's the Solitude. So I'm about to fire it off. I'm like, you know what? Let's wait and fizzle the Ephemerate. All right, so there comes the Ephemerate. I'm going to pitch cast Solitude, and praying they don't have a counter here, because that would be pretty bad. And by some miracle, it works. So this is good. You know, this is like just Trigger City over here. Like we have Soul Wardens, we have Guide of Souls. Like there's just tons of stuff going on. Not to mention the opponent is like making sort of complicated loops. So we broke the soft lock right there, and the opponent passes. And they have Riptide Lab over there, so we have to remember that. Going to attempt to gobble up Deputy right here, but they have a mana drain available. Now, we do have 14 energy, though, so I'm trying to figure out the attacks. And we're going to flicker something with Phelia, so I'm like trying to think of how to attack with everything. Attack in this manner, because with the 3 separate Guide of Souls triggers, we can create 3 more flyers. And going to blink the other Guide of Souls, its trigger's already on the stack, so like it's going to be able to come back later on and trigger the other Guide of Souls again, and Enduring Innocence. So I definitely wanted to blink something to get that card draw. So this is just a wild game that this is turning out to be. So we just slapped them for like a ton of damage, but they still have plenty of time given like the Soul Warden life. So they opt to use Riptide Lab to bounce back their creatures. So I'm going to start speeding through when there's like big chunks of like triggers happening. So Riptide Lab is going to be annoying because every time we like stick a bunch of counters on Guide of Souls, for example, they can just gobble them all up again with Riptide Lab. And every sort of iteration of creatures returning is going to pad their life total even more. So I'm going to speed through some of the triggers. Alright, and the opponent drew a Solitude. Let's see what they... So this is far from over. The opponent has made a really good play right there. Now, we're about to see the power of Enduring Innocence, though. That's going to allow us to outgrind them. So Companion draws us a card, Enduring Innocence draws us a card, and we draw a Kabira Takedown, which, you know, like I was talking about earlier in the video, my Chrome Mox decks really pad them out with MDFC lands, just so you don't have to like tuck real cards under it. It's more like it turns it more into like a Mox Diamond, you know. That's the goal with all the MDFCs, and Kabira Takedown is super clutch right there to unshackle our Guide of Souls, make 1,000,000 energy. We only have 2 creatures that aren't summoning sick, so we're just going to go out. We have so much energy, so just going to try and hurry and kill them. They're at 52, so like if they draw another, you know, another way to like Oblivion Ring our stuff, like it could, but we're finally starting to get somewhere. Alright, so they pass to us. Skyclave, and yeah, the opponent just packs it in. So that was a pretty awesome one. The opponent established a soft lock on us. We were able to break out of it and then grind them out with Enduring Innocence. We're already in the next game. Quite different matchup with the green-black land. We're going to lead with Guide of Souls. And seeing a green-blue land in the graveyard, and then this immediate Surveil land, followed by a Surveilled White Mana Drain, means like it's very likely we're playing Show and Tell. Now this is the downside of the ETB tapped MDFCs like Kabira Takedown. Like, I like Kabira Takedown's effect better than most, but it, unlike Witch Enchanter, it always comes to play tapped. And so we could have had a really killer turn with like double Ocelot Pride on turn 2. So our momentum's a little bit slowed by that. Alright, Seek New Knowledge plus Surveil Land. The opponent's really digging, and as we wait for them to select their cards, if you like seeing white mid-range grind it out, please side R Jabari the like button. Stoneforge Mystic. So I feel like we could be losing as soon as the opponent's next turn. So what I'm trying to do is just set up for maximal damage. So I decided the best way to do that is to go Guide of Souls into Ocelot Pride number 2. Now, unfortunately, we're only at 5 energy, so we can only boost 1 creature right now. And this, you know, that's the tap land coming back to bite us a little bit. But we will be able to start going off with Ocelot Pride's Guide of Souls. And so basically, and this is why you play these cards. Like you've seen me battle countless energy decks. You know, like Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride are 1-mana cards that can just win the game by themselves. So. Opponent's brainstorming, and the opponent packs it. So for once in my life, they didn't have it on turn 3 or 4 or whatever. So we actually got there. So always feels good to beat up on Show and Tell. So we're going to play Ocelot Pride and pass. Now there is a risk, and this is exactly it. And the opponent's playing Despise. You know, Thoughtseize does the same thing, but sometimes you want to play your MDFCs to be safe from hand disruption, because then they can just basically take lands out of your hand. So I probably should have just played Witch Enchanter turn 1. You know, the opponent took an Ocelot Pride. They honestly probably should have taken our Witch Enchanter there, though we still would have had a pretty strong follow-up. Now this is an alchemy card I hadn't seen before. It sort of plays similar to like Porphyry Nodes, but basically like it permanently gives -1/-1 to like the smallest of the opposing creatures, and if there's ties, they get to choose. You know, so obviously they're going to choose Ocelot Pride. So that is unfortunately like a pretty devastating card, given like we're on like the all Ocelot Pride plan. So basically every single turn that enchantment's going to eat one of our creatures, starting with our best stuff. Now I guess, oh okay, no, we drew that, okay, yeah, so we do have Skyclave eventually, but we needed the Spirited Companion to draw into that. Alright, so then there's Unstoppable Slasher. Alright, and so then they're going to finish off our other Ocelot Pride. Alright, Kabira Takedown. So I want to hurry up and get them dead. So here's the question. Do we like Skyclave the Unstoppable Slasher or Skyclave the enchantment and Solitude the Slasher? Do we even care about the enchantment? Like, considering it's just going to be killing like tokens at this point. Basically, if the game goes long enough, it could get sort of ugly. End up holding on to Kabira Takedown. If we get another land, like going like Phelia into Kabira Takedown could be like pretty strong. Alright, opponent's going to Hero's Downfall the Skyclave. And it does seem like there's possibly some like budget concessions going on. Like you don't always see Hero's Downfall as like the removal choice. The opponent plays a card called Grave Expectations. It's one of the heist cards, so they've stolen something from us. We don't know what. And then there's Stoneforge. Now that's the argument of playing Kabira Takedown last turn, because then we can go like Stoneforge plus Phelia this turn. So I'm gonna just Stoneforge and grab a Dissection Tools as like our sort of store brand Batter Skull. It could be pretty strong with Phelia on the battlefield also, so that's the idea. Hypnotic Spectre. So, respect for playing the classics. I've actually... okay, so they stole a Kabira Takedown from us, so they're going to nuke Stoneforge. Going to go ahead and Solitude the Hypnotic Spectre. So I've actually tried Hypnotic Spectre in Timeless before, and like sort of like in... oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So Kabira Takedown relies on the number of creatures. So by solituding the Hypnotic Spectre, they're down to one creature, which keeps Stoneforge alive. So we could activate Stoneforge and put Dissection Tools in, but nuking their enchantment seems pretty good. We can, you know, either naturally play Dissection Tools or cheat it into play next turn. But now, like, that's going to just stop eating our stuff. Alright, so they're going to heist us again. But yeah, I've tried Hypnotic Spectre. Alright, so they steal an Ocelot Pride. And it's just tough. Like, even if you can Dark Ritual it out, like, it just dies to, like, everything. And there's just some pretty cracked stuff going on in Timeless these days. So, just attacking with Witch Enchanter, like, because I don't want them to have, like, a piece of removal. Because we're going to just hardcast Dissection Tools here. I'd like to have two blockers for Ocelot Pride to make sure like one piece of removal doesn't like clear an attack, and then all of a sudden they're making tokens, and all of a sudden we're just letting them claw back into it. Oh yeah, so that we got too much value at that point, and the opponent scoops it up. So Ocelot Pride is pretty good. The question is, do we go full all out and Chrome Mox out another one? Didn't seem super necessary there, since we can just drop two of them on turn 2 anyway. And not to mention, like, I'd really like to get Enduring Innocence into play if we can. Alright, so the opponent has Nethergoyf. Looks like it's going to be a blue-black mid-range deck. And we drew a Stoneforge, which is pretty nice. Now, the unfortunate thing is that we won't be able to trigger... like, we don't have Guide of Souls or anything to, like, get the life gain train going, so... So, I decide... so, against these blue-black decks, the way you can beat them is just by out-carding them. And so, even though Ocelot Pride is super strong, I felt very good about getting Enduring Innocence into play. Because even if they, like, Fatal Push it, for example, which, of course, they did right there, Enduring Innocence is going to come back as an enchantment. Alright, so they had Fatal Push for both our creatures. But that's going to allow it, so, like, you know, they have a finite amount of counters or removal, but if every creature that hits draws a card for us, like, they're not going to be able to keep up with that. So that's the idea, especially with Stoneforge basically like drawing us a card. Now I'm going to grab Lion Sash here. There's a lot of strong graveyard strategies. So alright, then we have Skyclave. I'm going to play Ocelot Pride. So grabbing Lion Sash because we can eat up their graveyard and make the Nethergoyf like super weak. And if we manage to kill it, we can just exile from the graveyard so it doesn't keep coming back. Right, so there's a Tamiyo from the opponent. And yeah, they're going to crash in. We'll see if our creatures survive. Okay, so they have another Nethergoyf, so they have a blocker still. So if we can slam this Skyclave right now, it's going to be really good for us. Okay, ended up just going for the Lion Sash. Yeah, why? With them not having mana drain mana, it seems like it would have been good to use Skyclave right there. But anyway, going to just use Lion Sash, take the artifact out of their graveyard, and they have redundant types of these, so it almost doesn't matter. But just in case they have like Snapcast or something, taking a Fatal Push. And this could be damaging them, like if they're running like a Portent Oculus or something like that. But we weakened their Nethergoyf, so we're not taking as much damage here. But maybe I should have just Skyclaved one. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there. So we still have option for Skyclave, but there's the dreaded double blue up on the other side. So, but it looks like the coast is clear for Ocelot Pride. So we're going to attack in first. Alright, so opponent has Brazen Borrower, so that's honestly not even that bad. So we have a Nettlecyst in hand also, like it's going to be pretty strong. Alright, and trying to think about what to do, like we have not gained any life. They bounced our Ocelot Pride. We've already drawn our card off Enduring Innocence. So trying to think about like what's like, we're trying to think about like the worst case scenarios. It does seem worth it to get another Chrome Mox into play. And what I'm doing here is holding up Stoneforge activation to put Nettlecyst onto the battlefield. Alright, so they are going to Mystic Sanctuary, a Fatal Push to the top. Alright, so that's sort of annoying because Tamiyo is attacking, which creates a clue, which means like they have an on-demand Revolted Fatal Push. But I'm going to drop Nettlecyst into play, which is pretty strong in our deck because we have a lot of artifacts and enchantments. We have the Chrome Moxes, Enduring Innocences, and the Spirited Companions. Alright, so they didn't even need to draw it. They had a Sheoldred's Edict, so they're going to make us sacrifice our token right away. The Germ does trigger Enduring Innocence. And we are going to take a chunk of damage here. But now we know we're in the clear. Like, the opponent can obviously draw the Fatal Push, but it's going to... Yeah, they're not going to mana to cast until next turn. So we're going to start with Skyclave just to like take the heat off us by taking one of the Nethergoyfs. And we're like massively ahead at this point. Like, it's, you know, once we've dealt with all their stuff, then we could like slap Nettlecyst onto something and just kill them like instantly. So I'm leading with Guide of Souls to get the life gain trigger to start going off with Ocelot Pride. Extra mana seems like it could be helpful because we can just double Skyclave next turn, or Skyclave plus like equip Nettlecyst. Trying to hold back the appropriate amount of blockers, make sure we don't die to something stupid, but we're getting some life, and like this is why I prioritized getting that Enduring Innocence in play. You could see they've been doing like, you know, 1-for-1 removal and all that kinds of stuff, and we just shook it off and just kept drawing and drawing and drawing. So I really have been impressed with Enduring Innocence. Like, it is a nice card for this style of deck. Alright, so here comes Skyclave. Now I do have to be careful because they can... Let's see, I guess they don't have a Revolt well, now we're triggering revolt for them. But like if they nuke a Skyclave, then they get a token back. I'm going to equip Nettlecyst onto something. I'm going to equip it onto like one of my weaker things, because I know it's probably going to just eat a fatal push, and I don't want to like, you know, try to equip like an Ocelot Pride and have like a high priority creature die. So now I'm making it so if they want to kill the like huge creature, it's just something lame like a Spirited Companion, while like the nasty Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride, you know, you can kill them, but you're going to take 6 damage. So okay, yeah, so they're going to hit the Spirited Companion. Now I think I'm forgetting the name right there, but I think there's like in Foundations we got another like white 1/1 2-mana white 1/1 that draws a card. I think it's called like Helpful Hunter or something. So like there are more of them you can include, but I purposely put the Spirited Companions in here to boost Nettlecyst. So that was the rationale. They are vulnerable to like enchantment removal or something like that, you know, but I figured the upside for Nettlecyst, considering we have like 4 Stoneforges, so you could see it pretty dang often, that was the rationale. Alright, so opponent's cracking a clue with their Tamiyo, but I mean, like, even if they Toxic Deluged us, like, we literally wouldn't even care. We'd be like, okay, well, play some more stuff, draw some more cards. And yeah, the opponent has seen enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're fighting against a Lurrus deck, and going to lead with Ocelot Pride. So, question is, do we like play Phelia next? So the argument for playing Phelia is that on turn 2 is that we can turn 3 Stoneforge, turn and then attack with Phelia, blink it again, get another thing, you know? So, but we also drew another Ocelot Pride. So yeah, the opponent's gonna block. We blocked up the life gain though. Now the thing is, they are blue-black, so like there is an argument to like just playing Phelia right now if that's the card we want to play, because so they don't mana drain it or something. Decide to Stoneforge right now, and they get hit with Flare of Denial. So I was thinking it was like a Psychic Frog, you know, Tamiyo kind of deck, but this is the whole like expendable little blue creatures like Baleful Strix, Flare Denial kind of deck. So so we didn't get the Stoneforge, but we are on the board, so like they're going to be forced to do something. And they have the 2 mana up, so the question is, so I'm trying to, you know, make it, if it is a mana drain, make it like so it's not very lucrative of a target. Like if they can mana drain Ocelot Pride, but they don't get that much mana out of it. So they do mana drain it. And the question is, do we play Phelia or do we play Lion Sash? I'm gonna just play Lion Sash right here. Now the opponent has still holding priority, so I guess they can't have Solitude because they're a Lurrus deck. So they had some other means of holding priority right there. So the opponent has some extra mana to work with. Oh, that's an Orcish Bowmaster. So now, as bad that is for us, like we have Spirited Companions, we have Enduring Innocence, we have a million X1s. Like it's not the end of the world. Like we have Skyclaves, we have Solitudes, we have ways to deal with it. So trying to think about what to do. Just going to attack it with everything. Like we're just going to keep trying to push damage through. Alright, so the opponent blocks with Bowmasters, which I'm like shocked to see. They're a Lurrus deck, so I'm going to go ahead and grab Tamiyo and deny them that later on. So opponent's going to fetch in response. So it's going to grow the Lion Sash. We're happy to see Bowmasters die. I don't know if they're just planning on bringing it back on Lurrus, but with Lion Sash out right now, like we can just gobble up the Bowmaster. So Lurrus is not looking great at the moment. I'm gonna put, it feels like we need the mana right now, so I'm gonna put in, like, it doesn't seem like Witch Enchanter is gonna do anything. Like maybe it'll blow up like a Tamiyo clue or something like that. So we're just gonna put it in as the mana, hoping that we can eventually stick an Enduring Innocence. Similar to the last game, like their 1-for-1 like counters and stuff will never keep up with like an active Enduring Innocence. So I'm still pretty shocked. So in case they have a flare denial, I'm gonna Phelia in response, so they can't like free cast it off the Baleful Strix. Alright, so they're gonna swords our equipment, but now, well, it's just sort of awkward. Like if we Phelia, we attack and blink their Baleful Strix, like that's just gonna draw them cards. That's pretty bad. We can't attack with the 1/1 though. Like we don't care about that. But we did get Enduring Innocence onto the battlefield, and we got our creature land. Now, obviously, against a Death Touch attacker, it's not great, but the opponent has just been very aggro with the trading. But we have been pressuring their life total quite heavily, so I was just pretty surprised to see them give up the Bowmaster so easily the previous turn. So, all right, here's a Mystic Sanctuary. Let's see if it's like a. All right, so they put swords back on top. That's unfortunate, because that's a clean answer to Enduring Innocence. Yeah, so they're going to Baleful Strix and draw it. And they're going to pass. Alright, so there's Skyclave. Which is pretty good, because that's just going to force them to do something. Let's see what they end up swordsing. Oh, they mana drain it. Okay, so... Now that's actually pretty awesome, because it means we can just attack in with the Enduring Innocence. And this I think is pretty clearly a mistake by the opponent. I don't know why they blocked there, because now they're blue-black. Like, they're probably not going to have any means of interacting with our enchantment. And now we just have like that card draw engine. They could have just taken the damage and just swordsed it. So I don't know. I guess they were fearing Phelia more, but it seems like they should have been way more fearful of Enduring Innocence, in my opinion. So we can just animate our... No, I guess we're one mana short. So I love the D&D creature lands, but I feel like the white one should have cost like 1 mana less. Like, it just seems like off compared to the other ones. Like, the blue one's like a 7 mana, 7/7 ward 3, and... The red one's a 4 mana 3/2 create a 1/1 when it attacks. Like they're all. The white one feels like overcosted compared to the other ones. I'll still use it, but it's just unfortunate. Held back the Skyclave last turn just to take care of the Lurrus. And thank goodness they didn't have a Flare of Denial at that point. So once again, with an active Enduring Innocence, I know we're going to be able to just keep the cards flowing. So set an upkeep stop for Phelia, because I wanted to draw a card on Enduring Innocence on their turn and have a smaller chance of them having a counter spell in hand. So, all right, Baleful Strix. But it feels good to beat up on this kind of deck, like the Flare of Denial, Tiny Creatures deck. Like you've seen some of my other videos, like some of those other decks that are really ambitious and not quite as strong get beat up by this kind of strategy. So it's nice to play something that can make them sweat. But if they had swords the Enduring Innocence, I would not be feeling nearly as good right now. So Guide of Souls is going to draw a card, and we have Dissection Tools leading with that. So we aren't going to get a card off this one because we already drew this turn, but Dissection Tools is going to be pretty dang strong. It's going to trigger Guide of Souls. And the big giant 4/4 Death Touch lifelink, I mean, it's going to probably eat us swords right here, but we can move it around if necessary. Alright, so they're actually going to take down Skyclave to get another creature. But, I mean, they still have that giant, Dissection Tools creature to deal with. But yeah, as we figure out what we're going to do, obviously we're going to Witch Enchanter their artifact right now. Draw a card for good measure. Let me know what your favorite Stoneforge targets are. Is it Battered Skull, Embercleave, something else? And we lock up this one. So on to the next game. And yeah, this hand looks pretty dang amazing. Guide of Souls into maybe Lion Sash, or possibly another Guide of Souls. Hard to say. Would love to draw an Ocelot Pride. That's true most of the time, though. Alright, so the opponent's going to grief us. So This is a tough one. So, do we Swords the Grief right here to prevent the scam? So, the thing is, if this is mono black mid-range, I don't care about getting scammed. If this is a combo deck, I care a bit more because there's ways they can use the grief. So, I end up just... Anyway, it was just a judgment call. I opted to not do it. And it turns out to be a mistake. So, the thing is, like, I play a ton of MDFCs in my scam deck, so, like, it was not entirely clear that, to me, if it was a combo deck. Like, you know, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's... Anyway, it was hard to say, so... Going to go ahead and play the Razorgrass as a tap land and pass. Opponent's going to crack the Vicious Bobble. And the reason I'm making distinction, so like against mono black midrange, like once we get Enduring Innocence in play, like we can just outcard their removal and stuff like that. But against combo, they have ways to use grief, most notably the card Sacrifice. And seeing the green MDFC come down, I'm like, oh, dang it, it's a combo deck. And there's the Sacrifice right there. So that's going to ritual them for 4 black mana. So it could be Charbelcher, it could be Balustrade Spy, and in this case it's Balustrade Spy. So I'm like kicking myself for not having solituded the grief on the way down earlier. So they are dredging a million cards. Looks like a Progenitus reshuffled. And they have some additional safeguards in their graveyard with like the pumpkin and the other like flashback cards. So we eat a ton of Creeping Chills, and then they're going to have multiple Silver Smoke Ghouls come into play. And so there's an important question right here. So I should have, well, I wanted to see what I drew. I'm gonna play an Enduring Innocence, trying to see if it's possible for us to even win. I'm planning, I'm like strategizing out my, like thinking about my blocks and stuff like that. Like it looks pretty grim, but I should have just solituded the Spy on our turn. The reason is that the Silver Smoke Ghouls have a life gain return clause, and so they're going to reshuffle some cards back into their deck so they don't deck. And now, so this is what I didn't take into account. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to Solitude the Balustrade Spy. Well, the problem is that this 2 life from the Solitude plus the 2 life from their other card means that all the Silver Smoke Ghouls are going to return. So this is just like an unforced error. I should have just done it on my turn. That way they wouldn't have enough life. And we could make this block, gain a little life off Enduring Innocence, and then possibly stabilize. You know, like if we get like an Ocelot Pride. But having done it the way I did, we are guaranteed to lose since... And this is me like, wait a second, oh, they gained 2 life off turn the Earth. So that was an unfortunate mistake. Stoneforge, like, might have actually helped us get there, depending, like if they rip, like, Dark Ritual... No, I guess we just needed to survive. Like, there was no Charbelchering really gonna happen at that point. So I think that was like a winnable game that I just botched right there by solituding at the wrong time. So that's how it can happen sometimes. This is a sort of slow hand. Like, I kept it off the strength of, like, you know, playing a bunch of Spirited Companions and drawing some cards. Alright, so the opponent's gonna bolt in the red-white land. That's already like a pretty big clue of what we're up against. Just gonna play Spirited Companion and see what happens. And they use a Galvanic Discharge on this. So there are reasons I could see them, like if they have like turn 2 Amped Raptor and they have like Flage and One Ring and they want to make sure they can hit that kind of stuff, that, yeah, I could see that. But we are like thrilled to see them use a removal spell on a completely expendable creature. So we'll see if it is like an Amped Raptor or if they're just trying to be mana efficient or putting stuff in the graveyard for Flage. Anyway, so they're just going to play a Johnny. And we have a Solitude. I'm just not going to mess around. I'm just going to Solitude it. The question is what to take pitch to it. So I don't want to pitch Spirited Companion because we still need more lands. I don't want to pitch Ocelot Pride because it's just like an excellent card. We want, you know, and I don't want to pitch Skyclave because it can like deal with like a flip to Johnny or something like that. So we did draw a land. I'm gonna lead it to Spirited Companion, but at least Ocelot Pride's a nice blocker for their 2/1. We drew a Chrome Mox. So here's the question: do we play out Witch Enchanter and save Chrome Mox to try and turbo out like Dissection Tools, or we just like anyway end up holding onto the Chrome Mox because we could have just Chrome Mox tucked Witch Enchanter under it for like a painless mana source. But I figured like there's a good chance we might want more mana at some point, so that was the rationale there. Who knows if it's right, but all right. I don't know what the opponent has, but just playing an Ocelot Pride is pretty nice. Gonna attack in with the Ocelot Pride. No matter what, like even if they don't block, we're gonna lock up some life gain. I don't know why they blocked like that. Like I mean, it's just 1 damage and our creature had first strike. Anyway, I have no idea why they just threw the cat token away like that. So could be something I'm missing though. Alright, so there's an Ajani.
May our axes strike as one.
And yeah, so this is the tricky thing. Like we have the Skyclave, but if they use like a galvanic discharge to flip it in response, that's like absolutely catastrophic. So trying to think of what to do and decide just to go for it and try and grab, and it does end up working. Maybe there's like a priority pass clue or something like that, but it had extremely high upside of getting rid of the 2 toughness Ajani to send our creatures in. Now I'm happy to trade my Ocelot Pride, one of mine, for their only one, and like we're already just sort of going off. I have no idea what's going on in the opponent's hand over there. So I don't know if they must have just drawn the Galvanic Discharge, because it seems like they would have flipped the Ajani otherwise in response to Skyclave. Alright, there's a Razorgrass Ambush. So we're doing pretty dang... So I guess we could just hardcast Dissection Tools, unless we want to use the... Yeah, I decided I don't want to use the like combat trick Razorgrass. I'd rather just use it to play Dissection Tools. Alright, once again, I guess... Still holding on the Chrome Mox. Should have just probably played it out. I don't know why I didn't just Chrome Mox it out. So that's probably unnecessary 3 damage right there. But we're getting like pretty dang far ahead of them. And so now we got a 4/4 Death Touch Lifelink, a bunch of tokens in play. We'll have to see. Like I don't know if this is an energy deck that runs black. Like Bowmasters would be pretty strong. Okay, so they are running black. Alright, so there's a Fatal Push to take down our Manifest Dread. Then there's a Fable. So it's definitely not over yet. The opponent still has some fight left. Okay, there's another clutch Kabira Takedown. Gonna shoot the Goblin token once it has 2 toughness. And decide to attach the Dissection Tools. Get rid of one of our cat tokens. It's just such a massive attacker. We're going to send everyone in. So they could trade off their 2/1 for like one of our lame 1/1s. Because this is a ton of damage right here. They need to do something. Or they could chump the Skyclave, you know, but it's just trying to hurry up and end this game before like Fable can dig them into something good. Okay, so they do end up chumping the Skyclave. So we're going to need some action. See how much they pitch into the Fable right here. Nothing. Okay, so they love whatever they have right there. Alright, so they have Ocelot Pride. And they're going to impend Overlord of the Belmark. I just love that card. In fact, I'll link an Overlord of the Belmark deck right here for your viewing pleasure. Alright, so they have double Ocelot Prides, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, we have... Anyway, I don't know if the opponent lost connection or something like that, but you can see their time outs have all been expended. Gonna pop the Fable and moved the Dissection Tools over to have 2 blockers for their Ocelot Prides. Like, we don't want to give them a window where they can, you know, gain some life, make some cats. So wanted to make sure I had 2 blockers, but the opponent just ends up running through their timeouts and we move on. So nice little win against Energy. And a hand where we could, anyway, just go, yeah. These Chrome Mox hands can be tricky sometimes. Double Chrome Mox is a little unfortunate, like it's unlikely we're going to need both of them. Opponent has Gigantic Companion. Alright, let's see, and it's a Ragavan. Okay, so what do we do? Do we play Witch Enchanter as a land and Chrome Mox something else down just to accelerate our mana? We definitely want to play Spirited Companion because that's just like a really profitable blocker against a Ragavan. Considering anyway, being more cautious of the life total right here. So going to Chrome Mox away Witch Enchanter, though that does sort of like shrink our our mana possibilities, but it seems like the safer thing to do. Considering the opponent's a red deck with Ragavan, could have a lot more firepower to kill us. Alright, so there's Wild Nacatl. Makes me feel even better about conserving life total, especially because they could have Tribal Flames, bolts, you know, stuff like that. Alright, so the opponent ends up not attacking with Ragavan, or he drew another Spirited Companion. Phelia doesn't seem like it really does that much here. Like, honestly, Spirited Companion seems like just digging us a little further to find more stuff seems better. Alright, there's a Kabira Takedown, which, you know, we want sort of both sides equally. Like, we really want the mana. Like, we have a Dissection Tools, which should be super strong, but we also want the spell portion. So you can see me agonizing, like, oh man, like, what do I do here? Try and decide. Ultimately, end up just playing it and just going to pass the turn. So we have like a pretty good defensive situation. Like, I don't care if we get hit a couple times by Nacatl, but like we Ragavan pretty much walled off, and that's the main one that's like scary for us. Its opponent has locked up full domain. They're gonna send it Wild Nacatl. We're just gonna eat the damage, and there's a Territorial Kavu. Alright, so we could get the Dissection Tools down. It would require Chrome Moxing away our Phelia. So you could see me thinking about that. Like, we could also slam Maul of the Skyclaves, aka Sky Maul, down. But I decided, like, Dissection Tools just seems like way bigger upside. Like, it puts another creature into play. It's also a Death Touch life linker, which if they don't have removal for it, is just gonna be like it's just gonna take the more effort to chew through it. Now, if we had like active Ocelot Pride, like generating spare tokens, that'd be really nice. The creature I'm least likely to block with is Guide of Souls, and I'm going to attack in because they do have somewhat of a painful mana base, like a ton of shock lands and stuff like that. And so if we can hurry and get this game over with. Alright, so opponent's contemplating. They're going to fetch. I'm hoping it's not like a Tribal Flames kill the face down card. Okay, so it's Bloodbraid Elf, and they hit another Ragavan. So that's like for them, unfortunate brick, but really good for us. Because, yeah, sure, they have some attackers, but like this is just not really that great. So let's see what Territorial Kavu does. Alright, so they're going to eat a Plains out of our graveyard. They must have a stacked hand. The fact they didn't rummage right there, so easy. Gonna snap block that right there. Oh, an Enduring Innocence. That's interesting. So we simultaneously want to use it as a blocker, but you could. There is a trick like with Dissection Tools where you can like sacrifice Enduring Innocence to attach Dissection Tools and then lock up Enduring Innocence safely as an enchantment to keep it safe from like swords or something like that. Gonna just crash him with Guide of Souls though. Like they're almost dead. So like if we can muster up just a little bit more energy, we can get enough things flying to like Well, I guess we can also stick Dissection Tools on it. Okay, so they're going to Tribal Flames down. Alright, they're just going to crash in. So they're getting a little bit desperate. So I'm trying to decide, because we can almost kill them. Like, they have a couple unknowns in hand that we're strong enough as to not rummage them away. So just going to block the Ragavan. Alright, so the opponent's just going to Helix away. Happy to see that, because alright, but it did pad their life total though. Okay, Phelia is amazing. So just gonna slam Sky Maul here, because that's gonna give us a massive lifelink hit with Enduring Innocence, assuming it doesn't eat like a lightning bolt right here. So here's Sky Maul. Going to slam in with Enduring Innocence. We do have an instant speed Phelia, which can, once it's in play, start blinking Dissection Tools and creating a ton of like face down creatures. Or Manifest Dreads, that's what they are. So, played enough Duskborn draft, I should know that. And once again, the opponent's mana base is pretty painful, so they need to deal with that Enduring Innocence, or else we just slap a Dissection Tools on it and they're just like dead. Mantis Rider. But can you imagine hitting that off Bloodbraid Elf? That would be awesome. So I love what the opponent's cooked up over there. So they're going to crash in. This is just like a desperation attack right here. Like, we just block Ragavan and like we don't even care. But going to just see what we draw first for full information. Definitely just block Ragavan so they don't, like, they could draw something crazy off our deck and get themselves back into this. So now it's pretty trivial. Oh, and we even drew the Skyclave. So we could have just attacked Phelia, flickered away the Mantis Rider to have like enough. Anyway, there's a lot of ways we could have just closed it out. So Skyclave makes it pretty dang easy, and we can see, you can show you here like what can happen. Phelia can flicker the Dissection Tools and create more creatures, and like you just start going off. So alright, so next battle, gonna play the MDFC, and once again, against hand disruption, you often want to get those out of your hand ASAP so you don't get like Thoughtseize stripping away your mana sources. Alrighty. Now this is not like a great hand. Like, Sky Maul is like a card you want later on in the game. Double Phelia is like also not amazing. Like, actually maybe should have just mulliganed that hand. Like, we have basically like 2 dead cards, but having a Solitude makes things like pretty dang safe. So, and there's another Solitude. And this looks like a Phelia block just to stop the Ragavan from going wild. Like, this could go poorly if they have a Lightning Bolt waiting for them to attack. And, alright, looks like that's going to work. So just saving Phelia, sorry, saving the Solitudes for some more nasty stuff like Territorial Kavus or Neshoba Brawlers, for example. So there's a Neshoba Brawler. We'll wait to see what we draw. Alright, so we are light on mana sources. So the most mana efficient thing to do is just to play Phelia out. But we do want Ocelot Pride in play. So if we can start getting some life. So I already knew, like, so this is just a mistake. Like, are we just going to eat hits from Neshoba? Fine, I already sort of knew I was going to Solitude it, getting rid of Sky Maul. So I should have just done it on my turn before they were able to play a land and then, you know, effectively gain 2 more life off it. So sometimes it's better just to do stuff on your turn if you know you're going to do it. And this is one of those instances where we're spotting him 2 more life by doing it this way. So there is an argument, like, if they played like that one green-red card that lets him pull something up, and like maybe we would rather Solitude a Territorial Kavu that got hasted out that way, you know. But no need to spot the extra life. Okay, so there's an Amped Raptor. Not great. Alright, it's a Once Upon a Time. At least it's not an actual creature, but onto the battlefield, but it's going to put one in their hand. Alright, so it's a Bowmasters. Not great for us. Another Solitude. Well, we have 2 more Solitude pitch casts, but it's just not very useful. So I think this was just a mistake. I don't know what I was doing. So I think the reason is Amped Raptor has two different things. If it enters, you get 2 energy, but it's only when you cast it that you get to do the cascade thing. So for some reason, I thought they wouldn't get the energy. I knew they wouldn't get the cascade, but I also thought they wouldn't get the energy. So I just spotted them 2 energy for 2 damage. Could be bad if they have another Amped Raptor. So that was just, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They have like a really low curve deck anyway, so maybe the extra energy doesn't really matter. But hard to say if that was the right play or not. So there's Wild Nicottle, Amped Raptor, and Orcish Bowmasters. Just holding off on the Solitudes. Okay, so that's pretty nice. So we could play Enduring Innocence. It is just an extremely juicy Bowmasters target, you know, like is the unfortunate part, but once again, I really prioritize getting it out there and like just helping the card flow keep going. Now the problem is that Orcish Bowmasters polices the card flow also by just pinging you with a million of those triggers, so that's also a problem. But Enduring Innocence returns back. Now Solitude does not trigger Enduring Innocence, that's like a little unfortunate. Leyline Binding is pretty bad. So it's going to take away Phelia. So we're obviously going to pitch cast a Solitude here. Question is, what do we hit? What do we pitch and what do we hit? So I'm going to keep Ocelot Pride because it triggers Enduring Innocence. I'm going to Solitude away the Bowmasters because that's going to just police any draws that we have. So we do take more damage because of that. And there's a Witch Enchanter. So if we can get another land and pop the Leyline Binding, we could be... Okay, so there's another land, so that option's open to us for next turn. And... Alright, so we got an Ocelot Pride in play, but we're just facing a lot of pressure right now. Alright, opponent just fetches. So we have a good play lined up for next turn. Pop the Leyline Binding, and then get our Phelia back. Oh, and then the opponent finds a Flage, which is really bad news. So that's going to Helix down our Ocelot Pride, which would have at least held the Orc army at bay, and threatened to trade with the Amped Raptor. I probably would have traded, well, yeah, maybe traded with the Amped Raptor. Okay. So it seems like the best thing to do to fill up the board is Witch Enchanter pop the Leyline Binding, but it's looking grim right here. Alright, there's a Stoneforge. So I'm like bracing myself for Phelia. So this, we could get majorly blown out by Lightning Bolt here. We're going to attempt the double block on the Wild Nicottle. Alright, so it actually works. When we draw a Solitude, so they didn't escape Flage for some reason. Maybe they're short on cards, I can't quite remember, but Stoneforge hopefully draws us an untapped land because we want to get the Lion Sash and get rid of that Flage. So we're going to pull out the Lion Sash. Like, Flage can just end us so easily. Oh, we drew a tap land. So I'm just like, oh my goodness. So it seems like the best thing to do is play Ocelot Pride. And do we play the Kabira Takedown to be able to hardcast Solitude next turn? But we also need Lion Sash to get rid of Flage. So I end up playing the Kabira Takedown. Because there was an argument for keeping it in hand to like use it like with Solitude. I guess we could have Solituded the Flage before it hit the graveyard. We just need to preserve our life total at this point. So looks like Amped Raptor coming in, and just gonna trade it off with Ocelot Pride. Maybe I should have just gotten rid of Stoneforge at that point, because how viable Ocelot Pride is. But they have a follow-up blocker, so it would have not been easy to get going anyway. But Now the opponent must just not have had enough cards in their graveyard. I don't know why they just didn't flage. Yeah, they had 1,000,000 cards in their graveyard, so not sure why they were holding off. Maybe they're okay. They were 1 mana source short, so that's the only reason why we had so much time. So now I sort of rushed into, so got rid of the flage, of course, then rushed into playing the Guide of Souls. I'm like, all right, we're gonna claw back into this. But what I should have probably done is hold on to it in case we needed to Solitude our own creature. I didn't do that, and then we eat a Tribal Flames and lose. So this deck was not only surprisingly powerful, but surprisingly fun. Like, going into it, I didn't really know how much I would enjoy it. Like, I like trying new strategies, but this was like really resilient and like almost like Jund in mono white form. Like, we could just grind out stuff, and I came away super impressed with Enduring Innocence. Like, that took over so many matches for us. It was just incredibly strong. Very excited to try out this card in some other shells because it was just that good. Really enjoyed it. Solitude is good as ever, and like, we can fight the unfair strategies with Solitude and turboing out stuff with Chrome Mox. Witch Enchanter, you know, could possibly pop an Omniscience. So really happy with the main deck. Honestly, might even include some more Kabira Takedowns. Was happy like every time it showed up. It was just always good, and like having utility in your lands is nice. Though this coming into play tapped is a cost. Like, you did see that also happen to us. So like both sides were at play there. Might add some more, take out some planes, add some more Kabira Takedowns. Shadow Spear might be a good Stoneforge equipment. The most notable one that you could possibly include is the Aether Spark. I think I just didn't put it in because I didn't have a copy at that point, but it would be interesting to see how good this is, you know, like in a slow matchup, pull this out and start trying to like grind people out with this kind of value. So, but yeah, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.